What's up guys, Lifting here. I'm still not 100% ready to release a full build guide for the Blade Vortex Assassin build, but since so many have asked for a video explaining how to level and progress the build, I will do so in this video. So let's take it step for step. For the first 12 levels, I suggest dual wielding 2 wands for the spell damage bonus while using Freezing Pulse and Fire Trap. If you want, get yourself 2 Axiom Scepters for a sick damage boost at level 10. Once you reach level 12, you can and should start to use Blade Vortex. You can link this with added lightning or added cold at this time as well, although it isn't necessary, it's up to you. Once you reach level 18, get faster casting and controlled destruction and start using these together with Blade Vortex. At level 31, get yourself the Blasphemy and Warlord's Mark gems so you can start leeching. For more damage, I'd also suggest to run either Hatred or Herald of Ash if you can sustain the mana. Hatred gives more damage but also reserves more mana. Finally, at level 38, link Blade Vortex to faster casting, Spell Echo and Controlled Destruction together in a 4-link. If you feel you have enough cast speed, you can take out faster casting and add in increased area of effect. I'm no longer running faster casting in my own setup as I'm able to sustain a decent amount of blades without it, and I prefer the more damage approach in my 5-link. And so that's it for the skill gems. From here on you can pretty much keep using this setup until late game. One additional thing I would recommend though is to have a decoy totem with you for when fighting bosses, opening strong boxes or essences. It isn't necessary however, but I highly recommend it. It is very powerful. As for the skill tree, that is a bit more complex as this is a chaos inoculation build, meaning you will scale energy shield rather than life. From testing, I've found that the best way of leveling this, at least if you want to be safe, is to pick up a decent amount of life nodes and then spec out of them later. Remember, you can get up to 18 free respec points by doing some of the various quests in the game. But the way I suggest you progress in the skill tree is if we open the first tree here, for 47 points you start here, pick up the Fizz and Chaos nodes here, pick up the life, the Soul Siphon mana node, then head into Fangs of the Viper, pick up the physical damage, then head into Nullification and all the way up here. Then get the Life and Energy Shield nodes and head up here. If you need it at this point in time, pick up the extra Dex and extra Strength nodes so you can level up your gems. Then head down here and pick up the Area of Effect nodes up here. This is a very nice boost to the Blade Vortex setup, you'll feel that instantly. Then from there pick up the Heart and Soul nodes for life and mana, and I also suggest picking up Nimbleness, the Nimbleness cluster here, for more cast speed and movement speed. You will spec out of these later and the same goes for these, but they are pretty nice to level with here in the beginning. So overall the early progression is pretty straightforward with the build. And also for the 2 first ascendancy points, I suggest picking up Unstable Infusion so you can start generating power charges. You may not be ready to do Labyrinth at this point in time, but this will be the first 2 ascendancy points that I suggest you pick up. Alright, so for the next points, this is 76 points invested. I suggest you start by picking up a Vault Pact so your leech becomes instant from your Blasphemy Warlord setup. Pick up some more life here over by Blood Drinker. Again, these you will be specking out of later because it is a CI build. And then head down here, transition into this path and get the increased skill effect duration nodes, which will make your Blade Vortex blades stay up for longer, making you indirectly deal more damage and having to cast it less frequently. I also suggest picking up Shaper here for the mana regeneration, because mana regen is very important for this build in order to be able to sustain the cost of casting Blade Vortex. Also, when that is done, head up here, head through the Power Charge nodes and pick up the Life, Cruel Preparation, which you'll later convert into Energy Shield, and then Deep Thoughts for more mana regen and more mana regeneration. Again, overall, so far so good, fairly simple. The next many points is when it gets a little complicated, and this is where you need to listen up. So this is 97 points, and this is when you need to start transitioning into CI or Chaos Inoculation up here. Before you do that, before you change into Chaos Inoculation, I suggest that if you're in Hardcore, to at least have 6000 Energy Shield with your Discipline up and running. That's okay, it's still a little risky, but if you're only doing early level maps here, then it should be fine. Also make sure to use 1 or 2 Vault Disciplines, as it makes it so much safer. But in order to get to this point where you have this amount, as I said, you need to run discipline. It makes a big difference, but you also need to make sure that the gear you are running has a lot of energy shield on. So this is very important for your chest specifically. Try to get one with 200, 300, and of course preferably more. And the same goes for your shield. You don't want to be dual wielding at this point in time anymore, because that shield can give you a very high amount of energy shield. Try to get one with maybe 200 or something like that, while your elemental resistances are of course capped at this point in time. Also, this is when you start to spec out of the life nodes, and as you guys probably noticed, we no longer have these selected. You'll spec out of these, you'll spec out of these, and I also suggest that at this time you get the 2 energy from within jewels added here, so you convert the life to energy shield, and add one here to convert this life and this life into energy shield. You still benefit from the mana and resistances here, so it's very nice. Furthermore, pick up the energy shield nodes here. These are very efficient. After that, pick up these up here, and when you eventually reach 6,000 or 5,000 if you're in softcore, you can pick up Chaos Inoculation over here, and of course these nodes here, especially Infused Shield, which gives you a more multiplier to your energy shield, which adds a lot. So if you're around 6,500, 6,000 at this point in time, you should be good. Furthermore, it's very important that once you do that you also pick up Ghost Reaver, otherwise you won't have any leech and you will kill yourself. So make sure you have Ghost Reaver when you pick up Chaos Inoculation. And as you also probably noticed, we've spec'd out of Nimbleness now, and we've spec'd out of these attribute nodes here. If you still need the attributes to level up your gems and all that, you can of course just leave them in there, but ideally you want to spec out of them later. You don't need the cast speed here anymore, and that's why we've spec'd out of that. Finally, I also suggest that you spec into Charisma if you have the Essence Worm Ring. If you have the Essence Worm Ring at this point in time, you will be able to run Hatred, Discipline, and the Blasphemy Warlord setup. If you don't have the Essence Worm Ring at this point in time, I suggest just running the Blasphemy setup and Discipline in order to be safe. If you have a lot of energy shield and just want more damage, you can run Hatred instead of Discipline, but I do suggest going for the more safe approach to make the build more enjoyable for you. So for the next points, what you will be doing here is mainly to start picking up crits, and I suggest starting to pick up Assassination for a nice multiplier and crit chains, then Doomcast up here, then Annihilation, and then finally pick up the last 2 nodes here. You can, if you want, pick up this one as well, but it shouldn't be necessary at this point in time. With my build, I have around 62% crit chains, and that is without any crit chains on my gear except for my Meligaro's gloves. And with better gear, I'll probably be able to reach 75 or something like that, and you don't really need more than that. Oh, and I think I forgot to mention it. You should at this point in time have unlocked Deadly Infusion. This is a very powerful way of increasing your crit chance, and I'd suggest doing that around level 60, maybe level 50 if you can do it. Furthermore, get Ambush when you can. It's not too important. Assassinate is very, very nice for late game when you want to do uber boss farming and all that stuff, but really these 4 points here doesn't make too much sense to get until very late in the game, especially Ambush, which doesn't do too much by itself. And so this leaves you with the way you can progress in the tree. The full skill tree looks something like this. Eventually you want to pick up the flask nodes, and of course just more energy shield so you can become tankier. And that's how you go about it. And that's it for now, guys. A full build guide will be out soon, but not before I have properly tested the character in the highest tier of maps. Subscribe for more Path of Exile content. Thank you for watching, and bros, do you even nerd?